Hi, I'm Tony Bowen and welcome to my Corn Country Rails. Well, today I'm going to talk about a project that I've been thinking about ever since I built the railroad and I finally got around to it, and that is some protection for this part of the railroad. You might say, well, what do you mean protection? Well, I have signals here, I have a bridge here, and the benchwork is only 6 inches wide. And this is also where I'm at, the pinch point of the railroad. Most of my aisles, like if I go back here just a little bit, is 36 inches wide. But if I get here, it's 30. And so this is the narrowest part of the railroad. And even though I have operating up above on the upper deck on this side, and some operating up above on this side, literally both sides on the lower part is just trains running. However, I've had a few times where people have operated on the upper deck like this. And of course, the fear is, what's going to hit the train are those elbows. And I have had a few years ago a couple tank cars hit the floor. Luckily, we didn't have to call hazmat, so that was a good thing. But it ended up with some couplers and some trucks that need to be replaced. The car, for the most part, was fine. But certainly with our investments in locomotives and cars and signals, we don't want to obviously be doing that time and time again. So I was at school, and in our custodial closet was this piece of plexiglass or safety glass, and it was sitting right in the trash can. So I happened to ask our custodian, I said, hey, is this something that's just going to be tossed? And he says, yeah, do you want it? I said, heavens yes, because as you can imagine, since 2020, finding pieces of this have been skyrocketing as far as price. And so when I looked at this being, a nice thickness so that it would be very durable, so once it's mounted on the layout, it's not gonna, get snagged and snap in two or anything like that. I thought this is exactly what I needed. And so the piece originally was a little bit longer and a little bit wider. And so our custodian said, oh, no problem. I'll take it down to the high school shop class and I'll cut it for you. So he cut it and put, nice little bevel on both ends. And then he says, just take the fine sandpaper. You can sand off that rough edge. Well, I found that some of my modeling sanding sticks worked great. So I just sat down here, just kind of got all that rough edge off it. And then, of course, it does create that staticky where you have a lot of those little particles that you've sanded to it. So you do need to take like a microfiber cloth and wipe it clean. And so this is what I'm going to mount up here to protect the trains on the layout. So that's what this video is going to be about. I hope you'll stick around and watch how I do the install. So as you come into the train room, excuse all the items from train shows I'm getting ready to go to, and then of course my summertime bike packing items that are on the floor. But essentially, walking down this spot right here, this is the pinch point of the layout, okay? And so once you're beyond kind of this little end of the kind of the bulbous of the peninsula, it widens back out. Well, this is where I'm afraid when somebody is up on the upper deck operating over here at Grinnell, or if someone is over here operating at Malcolm, that we have the tendency of sometimes bellies, elbows, arms, anything getting in the way. And I'd hate for somebody who's running on the lower deck to all of a sudden lose their train. Now, when I have a typical operating session, I only have usually between 6 and 8 guys down here. But there are those times where trains might be on top of one another. Somebody might be on the siding up here and they're just waiting for an east or westbound train. Somebody might be on the siding down here. Somebody might be back there in the town of Ladora sitting on the siding. Somebody might be here who's just come out of the Grinnell yard. So it can be a spot where you could have a cluster of people sometimes in this area at any given moment. Get this train moved out of the way so the plexiglass safety glass guard can be installed. So I had already taken measurements of this area and had drawn a very light pencil line on the fascia and came back and put some blue painter's tape pretty much on that line. A couple reasons I did this is I didn't want to mark on the plexiglass itself because sometimes getting Sharpie off plexiglass might smudge it, might still leave a residue or that. So I thought it was easier to put all my markings on the tape, and then obviously since I can see through the plexiglass, I could drill right through it, right into the tape and that. So I measured the length of the plexiglass, the excess of the tape. I just put a couple X's because that was just runoff. Came in a couple inches on each end of the plexiglass, found where the center was, and then from the center to the ends, found kind of the center of that, and proceeded to drill my holes for there. So this fall, when I was taking down a layout in part of the estate I've been dealing with, I borrowed a good friend of mine's DeWalt drill, and needless to say, I fell in love with it. And so that was kind of a Christmas present to myself, was buying that DeWalt drill, and the light on it more than pays for itself, working underneath the layout or just being able to get a nice clear shot of things. So I love the kind of the triple light feature that it has for being able to see what you're drilling. So I started with the center, drilling that hole first, and then once I put the screw in there, started working my way to the outer edges. That way the plexiglass would hopefully lay nice and flat. I wouldn't have any kind of like bubbles or gaps, that it would fit pretty secure and pretty flat right up against the fascia and that. So as soon as I got the center in, I just kind of started moving to the right and to the left, putting in the next screws, and then just kind of working out towards the ends. The safety guard part is on. It does not look too bad. So I'm going to pull it off real quick so that I can pull the tape off, because I did not want to leave Sharpie on the plexiglass. And also putting the tape there may have protected the fascia, so the green paint is pretty well protected as well. And obviously I need to re-wipe this down as well. So I started backing the screws out of there. One thing I would like to do is next time I'm at my local hardware store, get some grommets just to make it maybe look a little fancier there. I'm always fearful that I don't want to tighten them too tight and split that plexiglass or make it crack. And so maybe just having some grommets to maybe help protect that. So that's something I can easily pick up. Anyway, getting ready to pull the tape off, and then kind of just clean up the fascia. If there was any dust or any kind of imperfections of the fascia, that once I drilled the holes, that it kind of bubbled up and that, so that way when I get ready to put the plexiglass back in, it would lay nice and smooth. This was kind of a never-ending battle here, using a microfiber cloth and not only trying to get the little particles off from drilling the holes, but then also trying not to have it so fingerprinted, and it was kind of a never-ending battle. So here again, starting with the kind of center screw again, and then just working my way outward, and we were in business. Hopefully there's a little level of protection when trains go by, that no elbows and that knock anything off the track. So now I have just a little hook to put in here that I have in most of my signal locations, because that is also where I hang the little flashing portable fusees if they're ever needed for crews. And then it also has any kind of directions for the signals and that. So overall, I'm happy with it. I think it'll do a great job in this pinch point of the railroad. With any elbows are going to hit that instead of hit things on the bridge. And I built it at such a level that obviously photographing in that should still be okay. And if I need to, I can always take it off if there's shots that I want to grab. So hope you enjoyed this video on my Corn Country Rails. As always, if you have questions, please feel free to post them. I try to get really good at responding as soon as I can. And thank you again for watching. Oh, also better put the milepost marker where we're at. So we'll put that right there on the plexiglass, that this signal is at milepost 264.7. So that I'll put right on there. So thanks again for watching. Take care for now. Bye-bye.